something changed inside Meta this year. You need a completely different strategy to scale your ads. Everyone keeps talking about Andromeda, but that's just one part of a much bigger shift. Meta rolled out multiple updates at the same time, and they power the new AI system Gem that actually controls how your ads get delivered. So if you're struggling to scale, you need to understand how Meta is changing how your ads get delivered. And in this video, I'll break down what these updates really mean and how to adapt your funnel and creatives to scale with this new system. So in this video, I'll show you what each update actually changed, why creative volume and also creative quality and the win rate are so important, and how Gem changed the delivery, this new algorithm, and also how we adapt, how adapted and what strategies we use to still help our clients to scale past $1 million a month in revenue. So Meta is becoming a personalized recommendation engine. And there are four main parts of this update. One is Andromeda, that is introducing entity IDs, and I'll go more into details later. Basically, you now have to add more creative diversification and have different type of creatives and not just continue to iterate on the same type of ads. Otherwise, you'll always go to the same audience with this new update. Then Lattice is basically the new big model that Meta is using to understand all this data, and it's a new way that Meta uses to rank the ads and decide which ad gets shown to each person. And then you have the sequence learning, and with this, Meta tries to predict what should this user see next. So based on everything they are doing, what should be the next thing they should see next, and will just maybe generate the conversion that the advertiser is looking for, and also a good user experience to the user. The other thing is Gem, and it's basically the generative engine, and it understands the user journey and is able to create a journey of ads. So use your ads to retarget in the right moment the people, and making sure they are not the people that should see multiple ads, they're seeing the right ads in the right journey to then convert. And it's able to look at signals over weeks and not just a few signals like before. I'll show you a couple of things about entity ID and creative ID that are very interesting here. I actually took these couple of slides from Taylor Holiday. I think these are some slides from Meta, but I'm not sure, but I think it's explained very well here. So basically, you have an entity ID that is like a fingerprint for each creative. So here you can have two ads that look very similar and they have different messaging, a different headline or something. In this case, the ads have two different creative IDs, because all ads have different creative IDs, but the entity ID is the same. Well, then you have another example like this, where basically you have a similar type of image, but it's still different, right? But even though it's different, like the style is so similar, also there is the same messaging here, that it depends, but it may be identified with the same entity ID. So that can happen too. And so it might go to the same type of audience, and might also happen that this new ad doesn't get much spent. Then you have very different type of ads. For example, you have video or just a completely different type of ad, and that will have a different entity ID and creative ID, just because the creatives are very different. So what happens is that when you have a different entity ID, the ad is gonna be shown to a different type of audience, because Meta is gonna learn again. Then the creative is gonna go to the same audience, and Meta is gonna use the learnings from other ads with the same entity ID again. A lot of people are understanding this as you shouldn't do at all any similar creative. You should do only different creatives, and you shouldn't do any hook iterations. So that's not true. You just have to divide basically into parts. One part is the existing audience, and how can you get better results on the same audience, and on one side, like the same audience, you want to get better results ideally, or at least maintain the current result. And then you have new audience that you want to reach, and to scale, obviously you can improve with the specific audience you're reaching now, but you want to always reach a bigger audience. To reach a new audience, you have to use different type of creatives with different entity ID. The reason why Meta is doing this is that they had too many ads to analyze and too much data of how users interact with the ads, and not enough compute power for all these informations. And this is allowing Meta to just have a better way to match the right ads to the right convert users. In terms of what you can do to get better results on Meta, what we are seeing is what we were already doing before, at least, and we see a lot of people were already going that direction, because also like these updates start to roll out in December of last year, but it was only in July when they actually got to all ad accounts, and we are just seeing like a simplified account structure works better. So Advantage Plus, CBO campaigns, and just using less manual control. So just leaving more control to Meta and just thinking about how can I improve the market, the actual marketing, like the creatives, landing pages, and all of that. And also something that we highly recommend is to most of the times not turning ads off. And I have another video about this where basically I explain how Meta is not really optimizing the best way, as long as you're optimizing for your end goal, like purchase, and you just have to let Meta spend on the creatives, and it only makes sense to turn off some ads if they really have some bad results, and not just after a couple of days with slightly worse results. Another thing is to use broad targeting. Broad targeting is very important right now, and just increase the creative diversity, so targeting new personas, new angles, new awareness levels, new formats, and not just 100 versions of the same UGC ad. So that's also very important. You are targeting different pockets of your audience. Think about the user journey, and you have to think that a lot of people are not seeing only one ad before buying. They're actually seeing a couple of ads. So you have to make sure you have different type of ads, not just because of the entity ID part, also because a lot of people are gonna see one ad, and let's say they see a UGC ad, but then they're not gonna stop again if they see the same ad, or one very similar ad. But maybe they see a podcast ad and then they stop. They see a certain interview and then they stop again. See a POV format. And so you want these different formats, so you continue to target them, and especially as you scale, you're gonna hit a part of the audience that is gonna be more difficult to convert, and they're gonna need to see more ads. And then you want to make sure that you are trying to give high quality creatives to Meta, so that will give better signals to Meta algorithm. So media buying is becoming much more simple, as we were seeing also in the last couple of years, and the creatives are the most important part. It's just to add diversity. So that's the main thing that we want to do with Andromeda, with Gem, and all these changes. We want to basically start to target different buyer personas. For a brand, maybe 3-4 buyer personas, or even more. Sometimes you only have one, but a lot of times you can add multiple ones. Then you can have 5-10 angles for each buyer persona, and then different creative formats. And so basically you start to create a map for each buyer persona with different angles and different formats that will allow you to expand to get to a much bigger audience. What we see working, as I was saying, is basically just having CBO Advantage Plus campaigns with broad targeting and letting Meta optimize, then building a creative strategy map, and let's show you how we do it, to organize the personas, the angles, the awareness levels and formats, and then producing at least 10 high quality monthly concepts with different entity IDs. So ideally create more, obviously, ideally create even 5-10 concepts a week or more if you're spending 500k a month or more. But you want to make sure you're not just recreating the same type of ads, very few similar formats and similar angles, but you are using different angles and different formats. The other thing is you want to make sure that you are actually producing incremental results. So you have good new customer ROAS, you have a good contribution margin that is increasing, and you're seeing incrementality in what you're doing. You have to make sure in terms of creatives too, that you are not just looking at the ROAS or the metrics in the ad, in the Meta Ad Manager, but you are, or you're just creating more creatives, but you are also creating more results with these creatives. So you want to increase your inputs in terms of creatives to create better results, and you want to just see the correlation between the more inputs you do and the type of creatives you do and the results you create. The other thing is you don't want to continue to reset the ads every few days. So I see a lot of people just stopping the ads after a couple of days because they don't see good results. You want to avoid that, and you want to just leave the optimization to Meta and have the right setup with CBO Advantage Plus campaign, and then Meta is going to do the work. You just monitor it. If you see terrible results on some ads, then you can turn them off. I highly recommend to just not be there trading with the ads. I'll show you a couple of things we are seeing and we are doing now with the new updates, and this is very similar similar to what I was talking about in the Andromeda video, just because the solution part is basically the same. And we just have a few more informations that I discussed here about how Andromeda and GEM, the new Meta Brain, work. But then in terms of what you can do, we are seeing that there are two main ways. One is volume. You can just do a lot of volume right now and use AI, for example, to create many more ads. But you have to be very careful if you do that the ads shouldn't look too similar, because otherwise they are going to have the same entity IDs, they're going to go to the same audience, so you can optimize that audience, but you won't be able to scale that much. So you have to be careful with that, and also that will require you a very high volume, and you want to make sure at least some ads become winners and get spent. Otherwise you're basically like there is no reason why you're creating so many ads. But we see some brands where that works, so that's also a valid strategy. The other strategy that is more basically also what Meta is recommending and what a lot of people are trying to go for, and it's basically the method we also use in our agency, is to try to have a higher quality and higher diversity. So you just create 10 concepts, 20 concepts a month, can be even more if you're spending more than 500k a month in ad spend. You're not creating so many ads, but you just put more effort in each ad, and you make sure that you are focusing on your creative strategy map. I'll show you later, and basically talking to different persona or a different angle for that buyer persona, or using a different format for each ad, and that will allow you to get to a bigger audience and to scale. So our approach is basically understanding the constraint to scale. But what do you need to scale more your ad account? Do you need more ads, or do you need better ads? Or maybe like you just need a different type of ads, because like you have a lot of ads, you have a decent win rate, but there are small winners because they can't get a different type of audience. So the way to scale is basically to create more winning ads. And as winning ads, I don't mean those ads spend $200 with a good CPA or a good ROAS. You want to basically get more winning ads, meaning ads become top spenders in the account, number 1, number 2, number 3 in the ad account, and they take a good percentage of ad spend. And also those ads that will allow you to increase the overall ad spend. So maybe you're spending 1k a day, 5k a day, and you are able to scale with a new ad to spending 7k a day. And that's what you're looking for, something that actually creates incremental results. And to do that, you basically have two variables. One is the volume of creatives you do, and the other one is the win rate. You normally have one that you want to work on, because sometimes you have a good win rate, and you say, okay, if I just create twice the ads I'm creating now, and I can keep that win rate, I'm gonna create twice this number of winning ads, and these should be incremental. It should help me to just increase the ad spend profitably. The other option is to increase your win rate, and if your win rate is pretty low, you can create more ads, but it's not gonna be that effective. So it's better to just go back to the strategy and understanding what you're doing wrong and how to get a better win rate. A lot of brands have a very low win rate, and so they just continue to increase ads more and more and more, but that's not helping them because they didn't fix first the win rate and how to get a higher percentage of winning ads. So to increase the win rate, we basically create a creative strategy map, I'll show you later, and also we work a lot on the creative analysis and understanding what worked, what didn't work, and also in creating additional creative diversity in our ads. The other thing we do is we monitor very well the results and the ad spend, and we see the ad spend that is allocated, the general ad spend on the ad account, and then the ad spend divided like for each creative, divided in segments like the source, for example, if it's in-house, an agency, which strategist, and then the percentage of ad spend that our ads get on the total ad spend, the percentage of ad spend from our ads recently on the total ad spend, so the ads we created the last 3 months on the ad spend of this month, and then the percentage of ad spend from our ads coming from each batch on total ads. For example, we see this month we have 50% of the spend from our ads created in the last 3 months, and the ads we created last month are taking now 20% of the ad spend. So that's a very good way to track them, and we want to make sure we have a good percentage of ad spend. Also, the new batches we are creating, new creatives we are creating, are actually getting a very good percentage of ad spend, and we are not maybe having all the ad spend percentage from a batch we created a year ago, because that would mean that probably there is a problem, right? And we need to fix that to find again new winners. So it's very important we diversify by personas, the angles, the awareness levels, and the form. And each ad should basically speak to a different angle of your buyer. So what we do is we create something similar to what is in the image here. So I create a strategy map where for each buyer persona, say this the first buyer persona, and for this buyer persona I have these 5 awareness levels: unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and most aware. So I'm gonna map for that buyer persona, for each awareness level, a couple of angles. I'm gonna write them down. And then when I choose, basically I have this map for each buyer persona, and then I decide which angles, like which personas and which awareness levels and angles I want to prioritize. And then I have a couple of angles I want to prioritize. And then when I decided that, I'll decide which formats I want to use to communicate those angles. So quick recap of what we see working right now and what we are doubling down on is basically creating at least 10 new concepts a month, and it can be also 20 or more if you're spending more, so it depends on your spend. And we then focus on creating, at the beginning can be more ads, so we just try to double down and create more ads when it works, and then we see maybe the win rate is decreasing and we are not finding enough winners, and we see the problem is on the win rate. We just try to focus again on the strategy, on improving the win rate, and just creating better ads, and also different type of ads with more creative diversity, different formats. And then again we see win rate increasing, and we say, okay, now we just double down again on the number of ads and we create more ads. So ideally you want to do that, and you want to see that as you do this process, you are creating incremental results, and your ad spend is increasing, your revenue is increasing, and your overall metrics are improving. In terms of media buying, Advantage Plus or CBO with ad set for each angle or with for each concept, then we see working very well also landing pages and product pages specific for a specific angle or buyer persona. So as you scale new angles, new buyer personas, you're gonna have some generic product pages that are not gonna correlate that well, and so you want to bridge better from the ad to the landing page or to the product page, and you want to use specific landing pages or listicles or advertorials, or sometimes you just want to create a new product page that is related to that buyer persona and that angle, so you have good correlation and a good bridge there. Then creating the creative strategy map that I showed before is something that helped us a lot, just to make sure we understand and we are learning from what worked, what didn't work, and prioritize the right thing. And then the other thing is just doubling down on formats that are working better on organic right now, that just feel more natural, and just different formats from what you see everyone else doing. So right now we see formats like straight interviews working very well. Something like here, she's trying a protein bar and like 2 different protein bars and showing why she likes one, she doesn't like the other one. Or you have podcast ads with an expert in the podcast or 2 people that are arguing on why they think a product is super good and the other person thinks the product is not good. Basically the supporter of the product and convince the other person that the product is actually good. Or we have other formats like spokesperson or authority figures like doctors, vets. So a lot of different formats, and we are doubling down a lot on these right now. We see them working very well, especially with Andromeda and Jen, just because you need more diversity and you need to make sure you're getting to a bigger audience. So I think that's mainly it. On my channel here on YouTube and also on X on LinkedIn, you find much more stuff on these, also on specific formats we create. We have guides on how we create these formats and how to do this for your brand. If you have some doubts, just add a comment below. And if you want us to take a look at your ad account and you're spending already more than 50K a month, then there is a link below and you can book a call with me. I'll see you to the next video.